In 2001, Ted Turner's WCW finally lost the Monday Night Wars to the WWF, and Vince McMahon was able to acquire the purchase of World Championship Wrestling. This led to many fans getting excited over the possible huge matches this could create. Just before WrestleMania 17, the World Wrestling Federation would launch its WCW Invasion storyline. This should have been the greatest star-powered storyline ever in the history of wrestling. Unfortunately, due to prior contract arrangements, some of the biggest WCW stars were not able to compete, and we, the fans, were left with a watered-down version of an invasion in which WCW just never had the star power to compete. So hit that subscribe button and join me in this WWE 2K24 universe as we revisit what could have been if the WWF brought out all contracts of the top stars and we finally get the WCW Invasion storyline done right. Raw and Nitro kicks off with a simulcast with the euphoric Vince McMahon making his way into the ring. He has an arrogant smirk all over his face, and he clearly has something to say.
Tonight is an historic event. You may be wondering why I, Vincent Kennedy McMahon, is on both Raw and Nitro at the same time. Well, you see, it was only a matter of time before I brought my competition. That's right, I own WCW. So in its last ever broadcast of Nitro, I will address what is the fate of WCW, because the very fate of WCW lies in my hands. Well, I can tell you, WCW is going on the shelf. WCW is dead and buried, and will forever remain buried, because I am Vince McMahon, owner of the WWF and owner of WCW, and I destroy anything that stands in my path.
Surprise, Dad, you are on Raw, and I am here on Nitro standing in the WCW ring. As usual, Dad, your ego has gotten the best of you. You wanted Ted Turner to come down to the ring himself at WrestleMania and finalize the deal. But you see, the deal is finalized to own WCW, and on the contract it does say McMahon. However, the contract reads Shane McMahon. That's right, I now own WCW, and just like it did in the past, WCW will kick your ass all over again. And that's exactly what I'm going to do to you at WrestleMania.
And so the stage was set, Houston, Texas, WrestleMania 17. Mick Foley was special guest referee for this no disqualification match. Vince McMahon, owner of the WWF, made his way ringside with an arrogant, cocky strut as he prepares to face his own flesh and blood, his son, Shane McMahon. A confident-looking Shane makes his way down the aisle as the new owner of WCW. But can he defeat his own father at WrestleMania? The bell rings, and the match starts with Vince's strength and power overwhelming Shane as he takes the early advantage. Vince throws Shane up and over the top rope to the outside. Vince grabs a kendo stick, looking to inflict some serious damage, but he misses. This gives Shane the chance to take advantage. He throws Vince into the ringside barricade. Then Shane takes the kendo stick and delivers some stiff shots to Vince. Followed by a spine buster as the brawl continues on the outside. Pulling Vince up onto his feet, Shane delivers a devastating power slam. He then carries Vince over to the announcer's table. Then he drops Vince face first onto the table. Shane follows this up with a diving elbow drop off the announcer's table onto a dazed, supine Vince. Vince would then eat the table face first for a second time. However, A missed punch by Shane would allow Vince to capitalize with a stiff right hand of his own. Vince would then play possum pleading with Shane before throwing him back into the ring. In the ring, now Vince would hit a Lou Thez press and pummel the head of Shane. After an Irish whip into the ropes, Vince would go for a kick, which Shane countered, and throw Vince up and over to the outside of the ring. There, Shane would crash a stop sign over the head of a helpless Vince. After hitting a swinging neckbreaker, Shane would climb the top rope, looking for a big-time high-flying, high-impact move. Shane flew looking for a huge splash, but Vince was able to move out the way. Using both his feet and fist, Vince would look to pummel Shane and take advantage of his mistake. Up the powerbomb position, Vince would crash Shane's back down hard onto the announcer's table. Vince would then introduce Shane to a sledgehammer. And then a steel chair. Back in the ring, Vince would get payback with the kendo stick, hitting Shane hard across the back of the head. Before taking time to pose for the crowd. Looking to finish off Shane, Vince would hit his owner version of a stunner in the middle of the ring. Vince would go for a pin thinking he had won the match, but Shane was able to kick out. A desperate Vince would go looking to land an elbow drop off the second rope, but Shane was able to avoid it, and then followed up with a spinning back elbow. Shane would then land 3 hard kendo stick shots, with the latter breaking the stick across the head of Vince. Bringing a table into the ring, Shane would then set his father up next to the table before suplexing Vince straight through it. But Shane wasn't finished yet. Lying Vince down onto the announcer's table, Shane would look for a daredevil move, climbing the top rope. Flying through the air and crashing through Vince and the table with an almighty splash. A flurry of fists to the head of Vince would see him drop down into the corner of the ring. Shane would then look to hit one last all-or-nothing move to finish of his father. Flying through the air, coast to coast, Shane's feet driven into a helpless Vince with devastating impact. Shane would position Vince and go for the pin. 1, 2, 3. Shane McMahon had done it. In a grueling match, he put his body on the line and was able to pull off a big-time win on the grandest stage of all, WrestleMania. But on this night, this occasion, the spoils of victory go to Shane. It was now time for the main event of WrestleMania. The challenger in front of his home state of Texas, Stone Cold Steve Austin, would talk before the match how desperate he needed to win this match. To do that, he had to beat this man, the People's Champion, the WWF Champion, The Rock. The crowd were loud and on their feet, highly anticipating this matchup. And they didn't have to wait long, as Stone Cold Steve Austin would jump The Rock before the bell was even rung, looking for an early advantage. Austin would use a brawling offense and stomp a mud hole in The Rock. The fight would spill to the outside of the ring, where Austin would continue to take it to The Rock. An aggressive Austin would grab a steel chair from under the ring. However, The Rock would counter the chair shot, giving him the opening to finally deliver some offense, slamming Austin headfirst into the announcer's table. Back in the ring, The Rock would look to wear down Austin, including driving a knee into the skull of Stone Cold. A Samoan drop was followed up by two stiff right hands. After a beautiful drop kick and a clothesline, the momentum was now fully with The Rock. The Rock would show he could go toe-to-toe brawling with Austin. After wearing him down in the corner, The Rock would look to pin Austin. But couldn't get the 3 count. That seemed to spark Austin into attack. Steve would hit a huge back body drop. And then from nowhere, a Stone Cold Stunner. Surely that was enough to win the match. But no, The Rock somehow managed to kick out. Getting desperate, Austin brought a kendo stick into the ring, but The Rock saw it coming and countered and crashed Austin out in the corner with a ferocious Irish whip. It was at this moment, curiously, Vince McMahon decided to walk down towards ringside. Not allowing himself to get distracted by this, The Rock hit a huge body slam onto the canvas. An onlooking Vince McMahon settled in at ringside. Staying focused, The Rock would hit a rock bottom and pin Austin. One, but Austin, digging deep, kicked out. After some vicious right hands, Austin, draped over the top rope, would be clotheslined over the ropes and to the outside. After following him to the outside, The Rock would hit a Samoan drop onto the thin ringside mats. Throwing Austin back into the ring, the champion was so close to victory he could almost taste it. Then McMahon despicably grabbed a steel chair from the timekeeper's table and rattled a chair shot over the head of the Rock. He would add 2 more chair shots to a downed Rock before picking him up and throwing him back into the ring. A dazed Austin got back to his feet, and as a helpless Rock got back to his feet, he was met with another stone-cold stunner. Dragging the Rock's body away from the ropes, Austin would attempt a pinfall. 1, 2, 3. And there it was. Steve Austin finally won the match and became WWF champion once again. Did he know about the interference from McMahon? Had Austin sold his soul to the devil? McMahon would enter the ring and extend his hand for a handshake. But no, a stunner to Vince McMahon, Austin had no part of Vince's scheme and could finally celebrate in front of his home state fans, climbing back to the top of the mountain and being the WWF champion again. Thank you for watching episode 1 of the WWF vs WCW Invasion Universe. Please subscribe to the channel so you can come back for episode 2 of Raw is War, where we will find out the backlash of WrestleMania. As always, thank you and take care.